This happened a few days ago. I returned to my childhood home in rural Appalachia. After years in the city, I thought I was ready for this trip. I needed inspiration for a book. I expected to find clarity, but everything felt strange. The streets looked smaller, like they shrank while I was gone. That familiar smell of damp earth and wood smoke lingered in the air, but it brought unease instead of comfort. I fell asleep that first night, worn out from the long drive. I woke in the middle of the night to laughter. It drifted from the woods, both distant and clear. I figured it was just local kids messing around, but it felt wrong. The laughter stirred dark memories, stories my neighbors used to tell, stories about things that lived in those woods. They whispered of shadows, something lurking just beyond sight. The next few days blurred as I walked the old roads trying to shake the laughter from my mind. I caught glimpses of shapes darting in the trees. My heart raced whenever I saw something flicker, but I told myself it was just my imagination. I wasn't a child anymore, I was just a writer looking for ideas, wasn't I? One afternoon I stumbled upon the attic. Dust covered everything, thick and heavy. I found an old scrapbook and opened it slowly. The smell of aged paper hit me. Inside were notes and stories, tales of the forest, family legends. I read page after page, feeling my pulse quicken. Some stories were memories, things I thought I had forgotten. The shadows, the laughter. It all tied together in a knot of fear inside me. The more I read, the stronger the pull to the woods became. At twilight, I found myself standing at the edge of the forest, looking into the dark. I heard rustling in the underbrush. My hair stood on end. A chill ran down my spine. I wasn't sure if it was just the wind or something else moving just at the edge of my vision. Then I heard it again, the child's laughter. It rang out from somewhere deep in the trees. I moved closer, my heart pounding louder. And that's when I saw something shift. Something or someone stood there, watching me from the shadows. I froze, unable to breathe. I couldn't look away. Questions raced through my mind, but all I could think was who was there with me. Then it spoke. "You came back." The voice was small, innocent. I felt my stomach drop. I wanted to run, but my feet wouldn't move. I was trapped in that moment. My eyes strained to see what it was, but all I could make out was darkness. I wanted to scream, but I just stood there waiting, because deep down I knew whatever it was had been waiting for me too. I couldn't react. My heart thudded faster as I stared into the blackness. "You came back." The voice echoed in my mind, its innocence contrasting sharply with the dread swelling in my chest. Who was it? I wanted to shout, to demand the figure show itself, but I was frozen. The shadows shifted again and I gasped. Then the laughter returned. Closer this time, a kaleidoscope of giggles swirling through the trees. Panic replaced the stillness inside me. I took a step back, half turned, half fleeing, but the urge to understand held me in place. "What do you want?" I finally managed to whisper, my voice trembling. "Play with us," it called sweetly, drawing me in. I felt a tug at my heart, a child's laughter, a siren's song. I remembered my own laughter from these woods, long ago, running, hiding, finding secrets in the dark. But those memories felt wrong now, tainted with the fear I felt creeping back. "What do you mean?" I asked, more fiercely this time, clutching the worn edges of the scrapbook in my hand. "I'm not a child anymore. Neither are we," it replied. A rustle in the trees made my breath hitch. "We've been waiting." That word hit me hard. Waiting. Unlike all the stories that raced through my mind, this felt alive and knowing. A dark thought surfaced. What if I had not escaped? What if the shadows of my childhood were still here, biding their time? The darkness shifted again, revealing more outlines. They were small shapes, darting in and out between the trunks. I squinted, desperate to see better. The laughter grew louder, now accompanied by little footfalls pattering on the leaves. Suddenly, I was plunged into unease. "We want to show you something." The voice sounded excited, like a child eager to share a secret, but my instincts screamed at me to run. I took another step back, my senses heightened. "What do you want to show me?" I demanded, though I regretted the question. My hands trembled. A thin voice broke through the laughter, saying, "The truth." And at that moment I felt something shift in the air around me. The atmosphere thickened and the sunlight faded away as if the woods were swallowing the light whole. Panic gripped me. I turned to flee, but it felt like something was holding me back. The trees closed in, dark and looming. I stumbled and fell, hitting the ground hard. Behind me, the laughter erupted again, ringing with glee that twisted my stomach. "You can't leave," they sang together, rising into a chorus that sent chills down my spine. "You must know." And that's when I saw it. A flicker of movement in the shadows, a figure slowly stepping into the dim light. My breath caught, for this one looked familiar. I was paralyzed by recognition and horror. That's when everything started to blur again, feelings of dread swirling fast. Who was it? A friend? A memory? Or something worse? I scrambled back as the dark figure stepped closer. The ground beneath me felt like it could give way any moment, as I faced the echoes of my past. I managed to whisper, "What did you do to me?" Then a whisper answered back, and I was too terrified to ask for more. My eyes widened as I took in the figure that emerged from the shadows. It wasn't just someone familiar. It was me, but younger. There I was, back when laughter filled the air and innocence reigned. I wore the same faded dress I had loved so much. My heart pounded as I stared at her, the child who had roamed these woods without a care. "Come play," she called, her eyes bright and inviting. She darted back into the darkness, her giggles echoing through the trees as if coaxing me to follow. "No," I shouted, shaking my head. The memories that bubbled up felt tangled and wrong. I remembered the joy of discovery, yes, but also the deep fear that had haunted me since childhood. The woods were a playground and a prison all at once. "What do you want?" I yelled, not caring how weak my voice sounded. The younger me paused, a smile stretching across her face. "We want to show you." She tilted her head as if daring me to step closer. The presence of the other figures lurked behind me, still laughing. The chorus of childlike joy became sinister in the air, suffocating. Unsteady, I pushed myself to my feet, brushing off the dirt. Each breath felt heavy. "Show me what?" I asked, but deep down I knew. I didn't want to admit it, but the truth lurked just beyond my reach, shimmering like faded sunlight through the trees. "Come find us." The little girl beckoned, spinning on her heel and skipping away, her laughter trailing like a ribbon through the darkness. I hesitated. Something pulled at me, trying to bridge the gap between my past and present, to entwine them in this impossible moment. Choosing to run felt both right and wrong. "Stop," I shouted, gathering what little courage I had left. "You can't just keep me here." But no one listened. They danced across the forest floor, merging into the dark, drifting farther from view. The trees swayed, and feelings of loneliness surged anew. I felt like a stranger in my own memories, misplaced and uninvited. Then I heard it, a familiar whisper curling around my fears. "You need to remember." Before I could respond, the laughter subsided, leaving an oppressive silence. And then, one by one, the shadows became the children I had once known. I froze, eyes wide in disbelief. They were the lost faces of my childhood friends, faces I had forced myself to forget. I nearly screamed. "Remember us?" The one with bright eyes asked, too close for comfort. "We missed you." I took a step back, fresh panic flooding through me. "I didn't want to forget," I yelled. "You're supposed to be gone." But I was trapped in a memory, the woods closing in as the reality of my past surrounded me. "Too late," they chimed, their collective voice echoing, serrated with something darker than mere innocence. "You're one of us now." And then from the depths of the shadows I felt something surge, a cold, unyielding grip on my shoulder. Turning slowly, I found another figure stepping out behind me. My breath hitched. I wasn't alone anymore. There was something else among them, something I couldn't see yet. The laugh faded, replaced with a low hum, waiting. I realized time had amplified this moment, blurring what once was with something menacing yet familiar. Who, or what, had been waiting for me? The air thickened again, my heartbeat echoing louder. It felt like the woods were alive and they were watching. Then I heard a voice, cold and clear, cut through the haze. "It's time to wake up." And suddenly, everything shifted. My past tangled up with a chilling present that left me guessing what lay ahead. I jolted awake, gasping. My room was dark, shadows clinging to the corners like forgotten secrets. The familiar sounds of the woods outside felt amplified, the wind rustling through the trees, the distant hoot of an owl. For a moment I lay still, trying to sift through the remnants of my dream. It felt too real, too haunting. Then I remembered the laughter, the faces of the children from my past, and that chilling voice. I couldn't shake off the feeling that they were still with me, lingering just beyond the edges of my memory. I brushed my hair back, trying to push away the unease. Something compelled me to go back outside, back to the woods. I slipped on my shoes and creaked open the door. The chill of the night air brushed against my skin, awakening the ghosts of childhood fears I thought I had buried. The trees loomed over me, their branches bare and skeletal in the moonlight. I stepped cautiously, every snap of a twig beneath my feet causing my heart to race. "What am I doing?" I muttered to myself. As I walked deeper into the woods, a sense of urgency flickered inside me. I needed answers. Maybe confronting those memories would bring clarity, or maybe I would only find more questions. That's when I saw it, a flash of movement just ahead. I froze, squinting through the darkness. Was it real or a trick of my mind? I tread softly, pulse quickening. "Hello?" I called out, my voice steady despite the tremor inside. "Come play." The bright voice echoed back, unmistakably familiar. I felt my pulse spike. The voice belonged to the younger version of me. "No," I whispered, "not again." But my feet moved of their own accord, drawn like a moth to a flame. A wooden dollhouse stood in the clearing, illuminated by a faint glowing light. My childhood dollhouse exactly as I remembered it, untouched by time or decay. I felt a swell of nostalgia and dread. It was a place that held both joy and terrible accidents. It was here that I had hidden my fears away, collected whispers and laughter while shoving down any darkness. As I approached, a figure peeked from behind it. It was one of the children from my dreams, a girl I had grown up with. "You have to see," she urged, her eyes wide and expectant. "We're waiting for you." I hesitated, the weight of my past pressing down on me. "What do you want me to see?" I asked. The question felt foolish, but it was all I had. "Everything you forgot." Another voice chimed in and another face appeared, this one twisted with an unsettling grin. My heart raced as I recognized each of them, friends whose laughter had echoed through this very spot. It's time to remember. The moment hung in the air, heavy with implications. My instincts screamed at me to turn and flee, but something deeper urged me to stay. I needed to confront them for once and for all. "Are you going to run away again?" one taunted, stepping closer. "You can't escape us, this isn't just a game." Suddenly, the light from the dollhouse flickered violently like a candle about to be snuffed out. I felt the ground tremble beneath me. "What are you?" I gasped, fear tightening around my chest. Then silence fell, surrounded by shadows. The familiar woods had transformed into something sinister, a dark entity all its own. I was caught, teetering on the edge of the past and the unknown. "Come finish your story," the group whispered, and then everything went dark. I awoke, but it wasn't to the comfort of my room. Instead, I lay on damp earth, the chill creeping into my bones. The familiar sounds were gone, replaced by a heavy silence that felt suffocating. Panic flooded my veins. "Where am I?" I whispered into the abyss. I pushed myself up, blinking away fog. The dollhouse loomed in the distance, but it was no longer illuminated. Instead, the moonlight poured through the branches like cold silver streams, casting long shadows that danced around me. The children were gone, leaving only echoes of their laughter hanging in the air. "Get up, you need to find them," I murmured, forcing my legs to obey. Each step felt heavy, as if the ground wanted to swallow me whole. The trees felt different now, their silhouettes sinister and unfamiliar, whispering things I couldn't quite catch. I had to keep moving, I had to know where they went. A rustle caught my attention and my heart thudded painfully. "Is someone there?" I called out, voice wavering but filled with determination. Silence responded, thick like fog. I pressed onward, scanning for any sign of those familiar faces. Suddenly I stumbled into a clearing. The air thickened and a sense of déjà vu washed over me. A bonfire crackled in the center, bright and inviting, yet it produced an unsettling warmth. Around it, figures began to materialize, shadows that merged into forms I recognized. Their faces gleamed with mischief, but there was something more in their eyes. Something dark. "Welcome back," the girl said, a smile spreading across her face. "We were worried you wouldn't come." "I didn't want to," I replied, my voice barely a whisper. "I thought we were done. I thought I escaped." "We're not done," another child chimed in, leaning forward, eyes sparkling with excitement. Or was it madness? "This is where it all began." I recoiled, chilling memories flooding my mind. "I don't want to go through this again." "It's already begun," the grinning boy stated, shrugging his shoulders as if it were the most natural thing. "You came back for a reason." I searched their faces, desperately looking for the innocence I remembered. But there was none. They were shadows of what they used to be, replaced by something colder. "What do you want from me?" "Your story isn't finished," the girl said. "You think you can just close the book? You haven't even written the headlines." Their laughter erupted around me, a cacophony that pierced through my resolve. Without thinking, I turned, ready to run, ready to escape this nightmare. But as I moved, the shadows shifted, blocking my path. "You can't run away." "Why not?" I shot back, fueled by fear. "You can't make me relive this." One of them stepped closer, the light of the bonfire casting eerie shadows on his face. "Oh, but we can. You know why? Because it's your turn to play." My heart raced again, but this time from rage and desperation. "You think this is a game?" A flicker of something, fear, passed through their eyes. Then it vanished. "No," they said in unison. "It's your turn to face the truth." Suddenly, the ground trembled beneath me, pulling me back toward the dollhouse. My mind raced with questions as darkness pressed around me once more. "No, I won't let this happen." My voice broke through the silence, filled with defiance. But as I took a step forward, everything shifted abruptly, and the world around me spun into chaos. I braced myself, ready for what would come next, hoping for answers mingling with fear. That's when I heard it. A soft whisper behind me, chilling, insistent. "This isn't just your story, it's ours too." And the shadows surged, enveloping me. I felt the shadows grip me tight, pulling me down into a thick blackness. I gasped, the air knocked from my lungs. Just as quickly as they had come, the shadows released their hold, and I tumbled hard onto the wooden floorboards of the dollhouse. The first thing I noticed was that it wasn't the toy-sized version I had left. This was a full-sized replica that felt claustrophobic and oppressive. The walls were painted a faded pastel, peeling in places, revealing something darker underneath. It smelled damp like decay, and I could hear distant whispers echoing from the rooms beyond. Pushing myself up, I surveyed the space. To the left, a flickering light spilled from a partially open door. Hesitating, I took a cautious step towards it. It creaked loudly, making me wince. Was I really alone? As I entered, the room revealed itself as a small, cluttered kitchen. Dust motes floated in the air, illuminated by the dim glow. On the table, a set of mismatched dolls stared back at me. They were eerily lifelike, their glass eyes glinting as if they had their own secrets to keep. I shivered but felt compelled to inspect them. Their clothes were tattered and one doll appeared to be missing an arm. "What happened to you?" I whispered. The word hung in the air, and suddenly the temperature dropped, my breath visible as mist. A chill seeped into my bones. Before I could act, the door slammed shut behind me. I whipped around, heart pounding. "Let me out," I shouted, but the kitchen remained eerily silent. "Do you really want to leave?" A voice whispered from nowhere. It was soft and taunting. "Who's there?" I shouted, looking around wildly. "Show yourself." My voice cracked, fear gnawing at my courage. Then the shadows coalesced in a corner of the room, twisting and turning until they formed a shape. A child, half-formed but undeniably familiar. It was one of the kids from the clearing. "You want to leave?" he asked, grinning in that unsettling way. "You can't. We're all part of this now." The realization hit me like a bucket of ice water. "You all are trapped here, aren't you?" I dared to take a step closer. "You've become part of the dollhouse." His smile widened, revealing sharp teeth. "Not just trapped. We're alive in a way. We're woven into the story." "What story?" I pressed, my heart racing. I needed to understand. "The one you create by staying," he said, tilting his head as if he were studying me. "You can choose to be a part of it or you can leave, but it won't be easy." He gestured toward the dolls. "They have their stories too. You just need to listen." Suddenly, the room shook, rattling the windows. I stumbled, trying to keep my balance. "What does that mean?" I shouted over the chaos. "They want to share their stories with you," he yelled back, voice rising above the noise. "And once you hear them, you'll know what you must do." Then everything went silent. I stood in the stillness, breathless. The dolls blinked, and as I turned to face them, their gaze felt heavy on me, inviting yet ominous. That's when I saw it. A flicker of movement behind them. I leaned in closer, curiosity overwhelming my fear. What was waiting for me? What truth lay hidden within their stories? I took a deep breath, ready to listen, not knowing the depth of what I was about to uncover. As I leaned closer to the dolls, I felt a mixture of dread and intrigue. The air thickened around me, and I could almost hear whispers curling around the faded walls. I couldn't shake the feeling that I wasn't just an audience. I was about to play a part. Suddenly, one of the dolls shifted its head. I stepped back, my instincts screaming at me to flee, but curiosity held me captive. The doll had chestnut hair, braided neatly, and a tiny dress that looked like it was sewn from flower petals. "Listen to me," it said softly, its voice like the rustle of autumn leaves. "What do you want me to hear?" I asked, my voice shaky. "Each of us was loved once," the doll continued, a quiet sadness lacing its tone. "But love can turn dark, can't it?" I felt the weight of its words settle over me. "Our stories are trapped in this house, bound by what we've lost." The moment seemed to stretch into eternity. I felt a profound sense of sorrow wash over me, and it antagonized my fear. "What happened to you?" I whispered, desperate for answers. "It was the darkness," the doll replied, its eyes glistening with a life that felt more real than my own. "The darkness took our joys and trapped them here. You must choose to confront it or let it consume you." As if on cue, the other dolls began to murmur, their voices overlapping in a symphony of hushed cries. "Listen, hear our tales," one urged. "We can help," another chimed in. I could hardly think. I was overwhelmed. Before I could fully grasp what they wanted, the kitchen shook again, more violently this time. I stumbled back, and the walls seemed to shudder with each passing second. "What are you doing?" I yelled, half terrified and half exhilarated. "The story can only be told if you are part of it." The once soft voice of the doll turned sharp, echoing through the chaos. "Stop it, let me out," I screamed. The shadows in the room twisted, swirling dangerously around me. An itch of panic crawled up my spine, and just like that, the kitchen door swung open with a groan. I hesitated, staring into the darkness beyond the threshold. An unseen force beckoned me almost tauntingly. "Don't go," the dolls shouted, their voices rising in a frantic crescendo. "You must listen," but I was filled with a sudden urgency, a need to escape. Every instinct told me to run, to get as far away as I could from this place. I took a step back toward the door, but something tugged at my heart, a feeling that this wasn't just about me anymore. With each breath, I knew that whatever lay ahead felt more important than my fear. I turned to the dolls one last time. I'll hear your stories, I promise. I just need to see where this leads. As I stepped into the hallway, I felt invisible hands brush against my skin, sending shivers down my spine. The shadows danced around me, blurring my vision. I squinted into the dimness ahead. Then something flickered to life at the end of the hallway. A doorway stood ajar, light spilling from it, revealing a figure. My heart dropped. I wasn't prepared for who or what was waiting for me on the other side. I took a tentative step forward, my heart racing as the light grew brighter. The figure became clearer, a woman, her long hair cascading over her shoulders, her face obscured by shadows. I couldn't tell if she was smiling or frowning. Fear twisted in my stomach as I approached. "Who are you?" I called, my voice shaky. "Do you see me?" she replied, her tone almost melodic. "Or just the light?" Her question hit me hard. The light was warm, inviting, but the edge of darkness still clung to the hallway, whispering warnings I chose to ignore. I hesitated. "I see you. I think." The woman stepped into the light, and I almost gasped. Her dress was made of the same flower petals as the dolls, though worn and faded. "I'm bound to this place like them. A part of their story. A part of yours." "What do you mean?" I felt my pulse quicken. Could I trust her? "The darkness feeds on fear and regret," she said, her voice trembling. "You've walked into a web of memories. They want your help to break free." "Help? How can I help?" I felt a knot tightening in my throat. I had no idea what kind of power this old house held, and yet it felt like it was pulling me deeper. "The first step is to embrace what they've lost. Look closer." She pointed behind me, urging me to glance back toward the dolls. For a moment, I didn't want to. Everything I encountered had felt wrong, twisted. But my curiosity won. I turned. The dolls were still, their lifelike eyes fixed on me, unblinking. "Tell us," one whispered, its voice rising above the others. "Tell us your story, and we will share ours." I swallowed hard. I don't know if I can do that. "Do you truly believe you can escape without understanding?" The woman's gaze pinned me in place. What could I even say? My mind flooded with memories I tried to bury. As if sensing my hesitation, the kitchen behind me trembled again. The walls rattled violently, and a deep rumble echoed through the floors. "You have to choose!" The dolls shrieked, their voices merging into chaotic sounds. "Now!" the woman insisted, her voice rising above the chaos. "You must listen to their stories or be consumed by your own." With each heartbeat, I felt the weight of the house closing in on me. The darkness flicked around at the corners of my vision like it was preparing for something terrible. I closed my eyes, desperate for clarity. Then, in a moment of wild resolve, I opened my mouth and said, "Okay, I'll share." But before I could speak, everything went dark. The light blinked out. I stumbled back, panic rising as I tried to find my footing. "No, not now!" From the pitch blackness, a new voice emerged, thick with malice. "You think you have a choice? You will share, but only what I allow." I froze, dread crawling up my spine. Who was this new entity? "Show yourself," I shouted into the void. But the only sound that met me was a deep, mocking laugh. Suddenly the shadows shifted and a cold gust of air whipped around me, biting into my skin. I couldn't see anything, but the presence of something sinister was undeniable. My feet felt glued to the floor as I wrestled with panic. That laugh echoed again, wrapping around me like a taunt. "Who are you?" I tried to sound braver than I felt. "Just the keeper of your secrets," the voice hissed, further melding with the darkness. "You've wandered into a space that relishes in memories, and now they're yours to tell." I wanted to scream. Each word felt like a weight pressing down on my chest. "I won't play your game." "Ah, but you already have. They are waiting." With that, a flicker of light returned. It wasn't the warm glow I had felt before. It was a harsh white beam, illuminating the dolls once more. Their faces looked even more lifelike, the shadows around them morphing into something grotesque. They stared at me with an intensity that made my skin crawl. "Share," one commanded, its painted mouth twisted into a grimace. I saw something glint in its eyes, something that placed it beyond mere wood and fabric. Before I could respond, the woman reappeared, her form clearer this time, but her expression was urgent. "You must remember, it's the only way to protect yourself." I hesitated, reflecting on the memories I had hidden, the accident, the loss, but clutching the past only filled me with dread. What if I can't? What if it consumes me? "It will, if you don't fight back," she said. "You carry the weight of what they've lost. Remember, your truth holds the key." "Truth," I murmured, the word heavy on my tongue. My mind flickered back to my childhood, days spent feeling unworthy, unfit for love. It was those heartaches that grew like weeds, suffocating my happiness. "Good," the voice purred from the shadows. "Start with that. Your fears are but a taste of what I can show you." And suddenly I was thrust into an overwhelming flood of memories, a backyard, laughter echoing, a swing set swaying, and then the crash. A scream. Pain. It hit me like a tidal wave, forcing me to gasp for air. "Make it stop!" I cried out, clutching my head, trying to block out the images that clawed at my sanity. "Embrace it," the voice said, taunting me. "Let it spill out. Your pain is just a chorus in the symphony of despair." I squeezed my eyes shut, fighting the overwhelming sensations. "No, I won't give you this." The light flickered again. The laughter of the dolls turned sinister, voices blending into a cacophony of despair. "Then face the consequences." At that moment, the floor beneath me shuddered, and a crack opened up, swallowing part of the room. I could see darkness below, a vast emptiness that beckoned. "Time is running out. Choose," the woman warned, a flicker of alarm crossing her face. My heart raced as I faced the void. I had to decide, enter the darkness that fed on my fears or confront my past. I didn't know which would be worse. I took a shaky step, heart in my throat, caught between choices. Just as I was about to plunge forward, a hand reached up from the darkness, grasping desperately. I gasped. That hand looked familiar. Then everything went black again. I awoke again, but this time I was surrounded by the faint flickering glow of light. It felt as if I was waking to a different world. Not the kitchen, not the clearing, but somewhere entirely new. I blinked slowly, trying to focus on the alarming sights around me. The air was thick and warm, and the scent of burning wood enveloped me. I pushed myself up, realizing I was on the edge of a massive bonfire that blazed in front of me. Shadows danced along the trees, twirling like spirits caught in a sudden gust of wind. I stood up, brushing the dirt from my clothes, feeling queasy but strangely compelled to step forward. "Welcome back," echoed a voice dripping with familiarity. I turned. The children surrounded the fire, faces illuminated in the firelight, flickering flashes of those I had known. Yet they felt changed, somehow more substantial, more present. Their smiles seemed both inviting and foreboding. "Where am I?" I asked, my voice hoarse. It didn't feel real. The laughter from the woods echoed faintly, as if lightly teasing the edges of my consciousness. "The place where the past and present mingle," one of the children responded, stepping closer. "You came here to remember." "I don't want to be here," I protested, heart thumping. "I was just looking for answers. I didn't mean to." "But that's just it," the voice insisted. "You did mean to. You came back to face what you buried." Water dripped down my spine as shadows shifted around me. "I thought I left that behind," I cried out. "I thought—" But the words crumbled. I wasn't so sure anymore, the shadows whispered in response. "Playing pretend won't protect you," one child declared, stepping into the flickering light. "You're one of us now." They all drew closer, wrapping me in their presence. I felt the warmth of the fire slipping away, a chill curling beneath my skin. I had to remember. I had to understand this madness I had stumbled into. "What do you want from me?" I demanded, firming my resolve, though I felt threads of fear pulling taut in my chest. "To share," the child said with a sly grin that sent ripples through my heart. "But first you must choose a story." A buzz of light flared from the fire, sending shadows leaping wildly through the trees. "What do you mean?" I stumbled back as I felt the heat on my skin. "I don't know any of your stories." "They are yours too," they chorused, their voices intertwining in a haunting melody. "What you held on to in fear is what binds us. It connects us all." I hesitated, wrestling with the growing turmoil swirling in my mind. Memories surged, layers of past pain ready to spill over. All the emotions I had tucked away, the childhood friendship, the accident, the guilt. I felt helpless against the weight of it. "Embrace it," the children whispered, their laughter morphing into something melodic but sinister. "Let us in," and without realizing I found myself drawn closer to the fire, the pain bubbling beneath the surface. "I remember," I began, unaware that my voice had taken on a faraway tone, a chant that emerged unbidden. "I remember the day that changed everything." The shadows shivered, holding their breath as I continued. "We were playing, laughing carefree among the trees, but then it happened. The accident. The scream." My heart thundered, but surprisingly, as I spoke the words, I felt a sense of liberation, like I was unbinding a tether. "It took them away," I said, tears blurring my vision. I could see their faces, the faces I had shoved into the corners of my mind. I never wanted to forget. I thought if I buried it, it wouldn't hurt. "You thought wrong," one child replied softly, a tear glinting in the light. "We're still here. You brought us with you." Suddenly I felt the ground shift, and the flames flickered violently. My memories were exploding, and for a second, I thought it would consume me whole. I pressed on. "But what do you want from me? I can't change the past." "You can shape the story," the girl chimed, her voice just a whisper now. "Free us. Free yourself." A wave of heat washed over me, threatening to engulf me in the firelight. The pain I carried began to budge, and I could feel it, a dark energy stretching through reality. It wasn't just my fear. It belonged to all those memories wrapped in sorrow. "You're not ghosts, are you?" I asked, horror and understanding mingling as realization set in. "You're the remnants of my pain. Our shared pain." "Yes, see it," they shouted, urging me to continue through the roar of flames. "Release it." Tears streamed down my cheeks as memories unfolded, gathering speed. "I want to remember," I whispered, wholly aware of what that acknowledgement meant, accepting my past, not just for me, but for them. "Then share the truth," they echoed again, and suddenly the flames roared higher, threatening to swallow me whole. "Let the darkness go." As the final words echoed, I felt a sudden release. The fire exploded with energy, and light enveloped me. Then, everything went white. I gasped as I awoke for what felt like the final time, lying on cool earth beneath star-filled skies. The din of the woods played softly in the background, the laugh of children long faded, a gentle reminder. I blinked against the brightness, searching for clarity. Faces of my youth, of laughter and loss, flitted across my mind. What will I do with this? I wondered aloud, glancing back at the looming shadows of the trees around me. They were alive with memory, but no longer trapping. Had I truly escaped? As I rose to my feet, shaken but unbroken, I sensed more questions rippling beneath the surface. The peace didn't settle. A bittersweet longing remained. I might have freed myself, but the edges of memory continued to beckon. As I walked away from the woods, the chill lingered, threading through my thoughts like an ancient echo. I couldn't dismiss what had been lost, nor could I ignore what had brought me back. I moved to the city in search of inspiration, But those mountains and shadows of thought never truly left me. They persisted beneath the surface, questioning and haunting. So maybe, amid the ambiguity and unknowing, I now carried those stories too, waiting for me to unfold them one day, not as burdens but as whispers of hope woven into my life. I moved to a different city after that. Sometimes I wonder if they're still there, in the woods or in my mind, if those echoes will always linger. But mostly, I try not to think about it.